Okay, so before I get started, I want to say thank you to the Chicago School's 2025 Student Research Forum for the opportunity to present my research and to the judges for their time taking a look at everyone's research. So, in our study, we aim to look at the role of impulsivity and social support as mediators to predicting alcohol use in recent Latin immigrants after being in the US for at least 1 year. Immigrants in the study came from South and Central America and immigrated to Miami-Dade County in Florida. They were aged 18 to 34 years old and stated an intention to stay in the US for at least 3 years after their initial assessment. We included variables such as any immigration trauma experience when traveling from the country of origin to the US, the social support they received in the US, and how much alcohol they drank before immigrating to the US. We also took into account some demographic considerations, such as country of origin, income, education, marital status, and more. The Alcohol Use Disorders Identification Test, or the AUDIT-C, the RAND Social Support Scale, and the Emotional Regulation Questionnaire were used to assess for alcohol use disorders, social support, and impulsivity, respectively. Our findings implicated impulsivity as a central factor in promoting alcohol use in recent Latin immigrants. Impulsivity was able to mediate the effect of immigration trauma, pre-immigration alcohol use, and, unexpectedly, social support. Indirect effects showed that immigration trauma increased alcohol use measured a year later by 3.2%, pre-immigration use predicted it by 9%, and social support predicted it by 1.2%, and all of these factors were mediated through impulsivity. This raises a question, though, as to why greater social support was linked to greater alcohol use in recent Latin immigrants, as conventional research on social support would seem to suggest the opposite, right? That social support would act as a protective factor and a buffer to poor drinking habits. A likely hypothesis is that the demographics used in the study and location were factors, namely that 18 to 34-year-olds in Miami-Dade County may be more likely to drink in social situations than other age groups and other areas in the United States. When combined with the desire to fit into a new environment, the appeal of drinking can be better understood as a social buffer that may increase feelings of social support at the expense of potentially worse drinking habits. However, this is just our hypothesis from this study. That wasn't the main focus of it, and we recommend there be future studies isolating social support and figuring out why it did have this impact on it. When looking at the demographic factors, some of them of note that saw the greatest decrease in drinking as measured by their AUDIT-C score when looking at their score before they left. So we measured it retroactively. So when they were in the US, we asked them what their drinking was like beforehand. So the changes in that drinking before they left to now a year after. The demographic categories that saw the biggest change in that were having a Caribbean country of origin, a 4.83-point decrease in their AUDIT-C score, having some training after high school, a 3.61-point decrease, a monthly income of less than $999 per month, which was a 4.4-point decrease, coming from Central America/Mexico, which was a 4-point decrease, being male, a 3.6-point decrease, and being married, a 3.4-point decrease. You can see other of the top demographic categories for changes below in that chart. So future studies should aim to better understand the complex role that social support plays in modulating drinking habits among recent Latin immigrants, as well as how social support as a mediator changes among immigrants from different backgrounds and those immigrating to different parts of the US. So as we previously stated, one of our main hypotheses is that the reason why social support acted this way in this study was due to the demographic of their age and in Miami. So what if it's a different age? What if they've come from a potentially different background? And what if they move to a different part of the US? And so those could be factors that may see social support act differently and maybe reclaim its role as a protective factor, as I think we tend to know it as. But future research should look more into that to see that role. And lastly, further research should be done to illuminate why drinking changes occur the most in Caribbean and Central American/Mexican immigrants. This would be fruitful to understanding of just drinking in Latin immigrants as well, and the recent Latin immigrants. Thank you again for your time, and I hope you found this insightful.